Everyone, it is the 10 o'clock hour. It is Tuesday, July 12, 2011. The Board of Supervisors of the County of Del Norte and the governing body of all other special assessment and taxing districts for which said board so acts is now meeting in regular session. Only those items that indicate a specific time will be heard at the assigned time. All other items may be taken out of sequence to accommodate the public and staff availability. Jay, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. New employees? Seeing none. County Council, any actions from a closed session?
Nothing to report.
At this time, I would request any deletions or corrections or additions from board members to the agenda. We will not be doing any budget transfers because there is not sufficient attendance for supervisors, so that will be taken off the agenda. Anything else, board members?
Nope.
Okay, at this time then we'll have brief reports from those of us that are left. David, you want to start us off?
Yeah, it's going to be real brief for a change. Aside from attending the 4th of July deck party and the festivities at the Beachfront Park on the 4th of July, we had a First Five Commission meeting, at which time we changed chairs and recognized Jan Morehouse is going to be leaving us as a representative on the First Five Commission. Gary Blatnick, Dr. Blatnick, is going to be the new chair, and Warren Raywell is going to be the vice chair. So we're looking forward to another year with that and spend time with the family, and that was it.
Right on. Thank you. Supervisor McClure.
Mine is equally as short. I, besides the 4th of July and spending wonderful time with my family, and I've been able to do a little bit of up in the backcountry on the county roads, riding around, and I think that we should be extremely proud of our road department for keeping those roads the way they're kept, because I don't think there are other counties that have that kind of road system that belongs to us. So that's kudos to the road department for doing such a good job. The Redwood Park Association Board hired Kathy Bonser as our permanent executive director, and we've just hired Kathy White as our North District liaison person, and I think we're going to see some increased activity in the form of like institutes and field studies and that kind of thing coming with the park and people coming to visit. So that's a good thing, and I have been reading and preparing for my second Coastal Commission meeting, which will be held tomorrow in San Rafael. So at the end of the day, I'm on my way there, and again, there's about 700 pages of information, and I've been staying on top of it. I'm not reading the newspaper as thoroughly as I did because I have other definite reading.
Okay, thanks, Martha. Well, I had a limited number of meetings myself, had action summary, and I've been trying to, along with some help from some constituents, trying to map the dispersed camping areas up in the Forest Service area so that we can make sure that that's included in the scope of things when public comment comes out on the travel management plan. So I've been doing a little work on that, trying to put things, actually I haven't been doing much work on it. I've been coordinating some people to do the physical activities. We had a GPS unit out and got a lot of the points marked, and hopefully IT will be able to put that together with a map. I did attend the deck party, which was well attended, and of course the 4th of July parade and Front Street activities afterwards, and my skin is, first layer is finally peeled off now, so the sunburn is gone, and that was about it for me. So we are going to hopefully have enough stuff in here to fill up our time to get to the timed items. We're going to move on to the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second?
I have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Any public comment on the consent agenda items only at this time? Seeing no public comment, then I'm going to bring it back to the board.
Just want to comment on Redwood Transit, the vehicles going to search and rescue, and I know that had been worked on for quite a while, and some people have been lobbying on it. Took a while, but the fruits of that labor sure paid off, so congratulations to, and a thank you to all involved.
Great. Jeremy, would you poll the vote, please?
Supervisor McClure?
Yes.
Supervisor Finnegan?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes. Okay, moving on to item number 15, which is an award of contract for the North Crest Drive Sewer Extension Project to McLennan Contractors. Anybody going to speak on this, or Kevin?
I can briefly, just to indicate to you that this is the low bid here is just slightly below our engineer's estimate, so that's good, and it is well within the grant award, and so we're moving ahead and moving forward with this.
Great project. Glad to see it happen.
So I would move to award the contract to McLennan Contractors Construction North Crest Drive Sewer Line Extension, and also authorize the county engineer to sign for the individual change orders up to 10% of the contract amount.
Second?
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any public comment? See no public comment, then we're going to bring it back to the board. Any more discussion?
I just want to say it's a great project, and it has been, I think, 4 years in the making.
Pretty close, I think.
4.5 years. It takes that long to get all of these ducks in a row, so that's good.
Jeremy, would you poll the vote, please?
Supervisor McClure?
Yes.
Supervisor Finnegan?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes. Okay, so we are going to move on to legislative and budget issues. Jay, you got anything?
We are continuing to go through the year-end, I shouldn't say too much we, but the Auditor Controller's Office is, and hope to have some numbers from them at the end of this month so that we will understand what our fund balance is, positive or negative. And individual departments are going through the legislation that was passed as part of the budget, and we'll be meeting with about 4 departments this week into next week to deal with any of the revenue that's coming into their offices and expenditures, as well as a couple of the reorganizations that were approved as part of the recommended budget, finish up those portions, and then continue on with getting to a final budget as early as we can this year. Legislative-wise, there is still legislation being reviewed and passed through, and one of the more significant ones, AB 109, Tom Kroll is the Chief Probation Officer, is taking the lead on that, and the committee that has been formed will be meeting. We're supposed to meet today, but they did make it effective to the Brown Act, which means we have to postpone that and notify everybody and do the correct posting. And then we'll follow through with looking at, there's approximately $100,000 that comes in to the county for the planning stages, so that'll be offset with some expenses on planning, and then the bulk of the money for the rest of the year will come in for the implementation, and that it's an October 1 startup, I believe, on that. It's I think Tom has said it's close to 40 people overall that will be coming back into the system, and then ultimately after about 3 years you'll be seeing just the non-ons as they call them back into the local system completely. And number of people involved in that. The committee is set by legislation, and Tom is the chairman. So we'll be following with that. And I am part of the group, but I'm not in the executive committee at this point. So we'll see. Legislation was passed to keep the CAO and the Board of Supervisors out of the executive committee, but there are some checks and balances. The board has decisions to make on the final plan and also on the expenditure of the funds. So that'll be coming forward to you as that's developed.
As part of the planning, will there be an education component for
At this point, I don't know. The executive group will put that plan together with some help from the rest of the group. It'll be based
That would be
on,
helpful for the community to understand the nuances of AB 109.
I think it would be important to get some, some public service announcements or some information out to the public through the press or otherwise to understand what this all means as it's implemented and how many people are coming back into Delmar County, that they're not coming straight from Pelican Bay to Delmar County, that they go to their individual counties. We get ours.
Well,
our
it's,
people back.
and that's probably goes straight to the heart of what you're saying. No, they're not coming back. It's going to start with, it's not taking people out of existing prisons and bringing them back to Delmar County. Is what it's going to be is the people that are in our community now that are either offending or will offend, they are going to be sentenced, and instead of sending them out of county, they will stay in county if they are within the parameters of those crimes, if they're first offenders, non-violent, non-sexual, predatory, that type of situation. So it's not that they're going to open up the gates to Pelican Bay or San Quentin and send them back here. No.
These are
That's
our
why I think
own.
education is-
I agree.
These are our own people that have violated and gone on, they're parolees, and then they'll be coming back into our system. But, David's correct, it's, as they call it, on, so that's the nonviolent. Yeah, we'll need to get some information out. Tom will be working on a plan feverishly because there is an implementation date now, so he'll be working on that. And other people on that are Gary Blatnick, because he has 3 hats he wears, and all 3 of them are on the committee. The overall committee includes a victim witness advocate or a victim advocate, the district attorney, representative of the Superior Court, judges. I think that's Judge Follett in this case. And so there's a wide range of people that will be assisting on that.
Okay. Moving right along. Do you have anything else, David?
No.
Legislative.
No. You're going to cover it in the next one.
Okay. Item number 21, letter of support to the Department of Transportation for the Regional Airport Authority. Is somebody speaking on that, or?
No, I think it speaks for itself. We
Yep.
just want a letter of support for funding under the Department of Transportation to the Small Community Air Service Development Program. And I think some of the fruits that we needed to build on are the article in the SkyWest magazine now, and just the great potential that the airport has, and these limited funds sure go a long way in promoting a community like ours.
The only comment that I would make on the letter is to make it look like it's more from the total Board of Supervisors rather than just the individual chair.
Absolutely.
It just looks to me like it's written as an individual letter rather than from the Board of Supervisors, but that's just the way I saw it. It may not be the case, but if we could change that around a little bit to make it look like it came from the board.
I thought the same thing. I thought it should maybe be almost a resolution. Carries a little more.
Well, it can be an action passed unanimously by the board.
There you go.
So I would move that we send this letter on county letterhead signed, authorized to be signed by the chair.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Mr. Miles?
My name's Richard Miles. I'm a resident of the city, but also a resident of the county. I'd like to make a suggestion about this letter. And I'll tell you why I'm going to make this suggestion. Our airport is so important to this community that it's fine and dandy for elected officials to write letters to Congress about matters, or our legislatures, but I would encourage you to ask our Chamber of Commerce and the residents of this county to do the same, because when people have to vote on things and realize for a rural community how important our airport is, that has a bigger voice than a single letter from a body of elected officials.
Good point, Richard, and so I would advocate that our staff preparing the letter forward a copy to the Chamber of Commerce and any other groups that could then sign on as well, tri-agency perhaps, and anybody else.
Sure. Any other public comment? Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Capital projects, Jay?
Well, again, I think I reported on this at the last meeting, but the townside boat launch repair project, or rebuild because it was completely destroyed, is kicking off on the 15th of July. They may not be actually under construction for a little while because of the amount of water that's in the river, but Steelhead Construction or contractors will be working on this one now for the next, well, no later than October 15th, hopefully. And then we'll have that done and get that finished up.
Boy, fantastic.
Long time coming, and we may even have an advantage of them using some of the material from the slide on Recwa. So we're trying to figure out how much material they're going to need. The engineering department and roads department is working with Steelhead to be able to just move that from where it's piled up now over to the site, because they have to have native material for some of the backfilling. And so we have, we'll take advantage of that if at all possible. So it'll be nice to hear what they come up with. And it looked like, Tina mentioned yesterday, that it could be the bulk of that material is moved by Steelhead at their cost over to the site. So it helps everybody. Helps us on the price of the contract also. The Prop 40 money, we've hit a bit of a snag, and we're waiting for a letter from Parks and Recreation regarding our final payments. We'll be negotiating out some of the issues that they've brought up that we don't feel are issues. So we'll wait and see what their response is. But those are complete, in our opinion, and very much being used. I was out at Florence Keller Friday evening, and there was a lot of people out there enjoying the campground. And Ruby Van Deventer was so full when I went by it about 4 times this weekend, and I don't think you could have got another person in there. They were camping all the way down onto the riverbank, but definitely one of our most popular spots. Camp Park is too. Hard to find a parking space during the day at Camp Park. I went out, the the building maintenance and parks had just got done mowing it before the last time I was out there, and it really looks good. We are dealing with an issue in Florence in regards to how the ropes course is being facilitated. We'll work with the school district with that, but we have to convince them that the school district is taking the lead on operations, which we do have an MOU, and they are taking the lead, but we'll deal with that one. Bike field is obviously done and being used virtually every weekend. I think if you drive by there on the weekends, you'll see softball all through this summer, which means people are coming from out of town. I stopped by this weekend to watch a couple of our locals play. It was a firefighter and police type of a tournament, and there were people from Grants Pass here, and John indicated that he's giving out phone numbers to everybody from out of town because they've enjoyed the facility, they enjoy the cool weather, and they want to come over and play. So hotels and campgrounds will be definitely benefit, as well as the restaurants, and that was what our goal was from the beginning. It's one of the better facilities around there. Point St. George had a discussion yesterday with Peter Jarash, our person from the Coastal Conservancy, so we can coordinate some final aspects of the final task regarding design and environmental documents, deal with some things that State Parks has brought up, so we'll continue to work on those. Battery Point, we've gotten, I think, what is the final version of the RFP, so that'll be going out quickly. And one of the things that did complicate it was the lightning suppression system, but it looks like we've got that taken care of. We have a design for it, and that RFP should be going out, and we'll get somebody underway hopefully this summer, fall. Through the winter as the tides finish it up next year. One thing that has come up, and I think everybody saw the articles or have heard about the crews that are working under the tsunami relief money, the fishermen that have been able to man those crews or staff those crews. And we were approached after the harbor and the city. They had come around to us, and we're going to work with Tim Hoon and Tim Pierce, who's their project manager, to bring those crews on and backfill some of the things that our Parks Department isn't able to get to. And it looks like that could benefit some of all of the parks, primarily Camp, Ruby, and Florence Keller. We're getting some paint on some of the buildings, cleaning up some of the, the bathrooms, and maybe getting some assistance in rebuilding that footbridge at Florence Keller that's out of commission right now, along with the other work that the road department might be able to come up with, or other parks or building maintenance work along the highways and roads, county roads. It looks like it'll be a very positive approach and get work done that a lot of times we've relied in the past either on the crews from Pelican Bay when they were available, or for Alder Camp. And it looks like a real positive. I see them working out here yesterday doing curbs, and they have paint crews, they have carpentry crews, and they're training everybody on equipment. So it looks like it'll bleed over to a lot of things that we do. So it's been a positive already for the city and the harbor, so we're going to see it too.
Great. David?
Well, while we're talking about parks, capital improvements, I know this probably falls under the guise of the road department, and I don't know where they are with their mowing in Klamath area. Got a call late last night from the fire commissioners. Our park in Hunter Valley is severely overgrown. Not only is it a fire hazard, but we've got a situation down there with the little kids. The grass is so high they like to hide in it, and the older kids like to take their four-wheel drives through there. And we're going to have, when the two meet, we're going to have a catastrophe. So if there's a priority to get that mowed, it would be great, whether you're using these crews you just talked about or the road crew with the mower.
I'll talk to Ed today and see if we can get somebody down there.
And then just to put I know we won't hear about it for a couple of months, but it used to be the Seas or the fire crews, Alder Camp, that used to do the cleaning of the levee, vegetation in the drainage on the interior of the levee. And if we can use some of these crews, if they lack work, we can certainly send them down to Klamath to do that too.
We'll be talking to the road division. They're busy today doing chip sealing. I saw them starting up in Kings Valley, I think, today. But yeah, I'll talk to Jeff and see what their schedule is for the levee project.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. I had a out of the area person who lives here a couple of months out of the year make a comment to me about South Beach and not being any toilet facilities and no bathroom facilities down there. And I don't know if this is an item for the county or for the Chamber of Commerce or for the Visitors Bureau or something, but and I have to go along with his thinking is if we're trying to keep people here another day or another half a day or whatever it is, and there's a facility down there, we get some really nice days down there, not a lot, but when we do, the place is just inundated with people, and we could maybe, if those people could stay here just a little bit longer. So if, I don't know where to start on who we would talk to or who we would get a hold of or what that would cost to put, 2 or 3 porta potties down there and have them maintained throughout the summer months, 3 months out of the year or something. But it may be beneficial to the businesses and the community to have something like that down there.
We'll look into it. I know that as part of the boardwalk project on Anchor Way, there were some bathrooms that were supposed to be put in that location, but as far as down the beach, the county doesn't really own any property down there, but we can certainly try to coordinate with some people and see what might be able to be done.
Yeah, great.
It certainly is extremely popular, even on days that it's overcast. That's people driving to Crescent City, and that's really accessible, and it's a great beach.
It is.
And we do have trash cans and recycle cans have been ordered that will be placed on South Beach throughout the county, and the city. But they're not here yet. They're going to be kind of cool because I don't know if you know the restroom on 9th Street where there's a can that has a cutout on 3 sides of the lighthouse. So all these cans are going to have that same logo on it. and then they'll be all throughout the county, so people will see kind of a theme. So it'll be neat.
Great. Okay, well, moving right along, we've finally reached the public comment period. Members of the public may address the board on matters which are within the jurisdiction of the board. If you are addressing the board regarding a matter listed on the agenda, you should have already spoken because we've already gone through the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Is there any public comment? Mr. Miles.
Almost didn't see.
Well, I have a long public comment today. I would hope Jay would add the skateboard park to this area where the people from RHS could do a little work too. But I have some deeper concerns today, and I'm asking every one of you to walk in my shoes and think deeply about a request that I'm going to make. I deeply believe that this county has progressed enough that it needs a Human Rights Commission to be formed and to try to be as active as it can be. And I want to tell you why. I got up this morning, and normally I just drink my coffee and skim my newspaper, but I read a comment by our director of mental health that really bothered me, and I wish the person would have stayed around. A woman whose sister is claiming that she had mental illness somehow found a phone cord and hanged herself in our local jail. I don't think there's any blame there, and our district attorney is investigating that. But what bothers me, and I definitely know this, is that Post requires so many after credits of our police and sheriff's deputies on the subject of mental health. It is, I know myself, because I have been in trouble before, that dealing with somebody with a mental health problem is difficult for police. But there's ways, professional ways of dealing with that. And I believe when there's incidents like that occurred recently, that we should have a body, a Human Rights Commission that could look into matters like this. The time has come. Then there's something else that bothers me. I've been reading in the newspaper about the hunger strike at Pelican Bay. I worked at the SHU library. I personally believe that indeterminate sentences in SHU are inhumane.
Thank you, Richard. Any other public comment?
My name is Tom Atlas. I'm a Mystic Forest RV park owner. I have some paperwork I'd like to give to you.
Thanks.
This problem with the dog started approximately 3 months ago. The first call was made to the Sheriff's Department. We were advised to call a highway patrol because the dogs were crossing a highway. They suggested we call the animal control. We did. After that, we called numerous times because we started having complaints from our campers about missing shoes. These calls were made to the animal control and the sheriff. Missing shoes began to escalate. We contacted Dave Finnegan. finally, the district attorney, Dave Finnegan, did respond to our call and said there would be something done. Mr. Alexander came to our place of business on July 2nd and retrieved one of the shoes that had been taken. He said at that time to keep him informed. We did. On July 3rd, someone from Animal Control showed up. They wanted to put a trap out, but we felt it was not a good idea because we had about 200 people in the park, and they would be gone for about 4 days and not able to retrieve the trap if we did catch the dog. They went over to the house and talked to the people about the dogs. I don't know what was said. Just this morning, we had a camper walking their dog. The dogs aggressively charged him. He was visibly shaken. We've tried to follow the letter of the law. We would please ask for your help in getting this problem resolved before we either have to close the park or the tent sites until it is resolved. It looks like it's going to be a slow summer in camping. We'll deal with that. But the safety of our campers is entirely a different matter. So, I have a couple extra I'll leave with the clerk over here that she can
Are
get.
you down on the, at the old town site? Is that?
No, we're just 8/10 of a mile south of Trees and Mystery. We're across the street from Don's Gas.
Oh, okay.
Okay? We have a house across the street that has become a real problem in the community, not just with the dogs. There are 2 wolves and a pit bull. We're not having trouble with the pit bull. We are having trouble with the 2 wolves. And it's a constant day and night situation. This morning, it was an aggressive situation with a gentleman walking a dog. I had to go out and assist him in getting his dog and stuff back to the camp. We have a trail that goes around the pack. It's out back, but it does enter into the front of our field. We keep it. I think we keep our park looking as well as anybody's in the valley, if not better.
So you know the owner of the dogs?
I know who they are, yes. And so does the sheriff's department and the animal control and the highway patrol. But so far, they've been unable to get it resolved, and I would like your help if at all possible.
You know, I've been in contact with Tom. I was alerted to the situation, as you can read there, about a week ago, and was pleased that our animal control went down. Even the district attorney went down, but animal control heard Tom's story, also went over there and talked to the offending owner of the dogs. And, you know, after a conversation with me, was set on the clear path that this was not a personality dispute, but there was a violation of our rules and regulations. At which time Tom's exactly right, he offered him a dog trap, but over the 4th of July didn't want to do that. The process has been followed. We got the complaints. It is frustrating that you have to have so many different complaints. You have to have them in writing from so many different people, but in this case it was done. So when the next complaint came in after the visit, which was just a few days ago, I guess, or the end of last week, after the 4th, the pound was notified, or the animal control was notified, and there was a citation that's been issued, and it's been scheduled for a hearing. I'm not quite clear, and maybe you can tell me how long the hearing process takes. However, while the hearing is being scheduled, and for that to happen, the dogs are still there, and they're still offending. And I don't know whether you got my email last night or not.
Morning, yes.
Okay. That this is a situation where I would ask you to cooperate with our animal control that has offered the dog traps.
They were supposed to bring them back Tuesday after the 4th of July weekend. I haven't seen them.
Okay. And then I think that's a humane way to remove the dogs from the situation, to protect yourself and your property and your people there in the park and the tourists, as well as the rest of the people in the neighborhood. And at least the dogs will not be on the run, terrorizing the neighborhood while we're waiting for the hearing. So I think at very least we'll put a call in as soon as this meeting is over to make sure that the traps are delivered to you. Okay? And I appreciate your diligence in it, Tom. Thank you very much, because so many of the calls are, we got a problem, do something about it. And when there's a process and that's been set up for the public and the public doesn't use it, it's frustrating. you have used it, and I would thank you very much for doing that.
That picture that's in that folk group is a picture of the dog bite that I got.
Yeah,
That it took place in 207. I'm still fighting that.
yeah, well, I'm-
Same dogs,
No, this was another pit bull in the area.
same owner?
No, it's the one on the opposite end of the
but
property.
I would think that it might give you cause
I'm
to
a little-
pause if you have to get in the middle of a dog.
Yeah, I'm not going to give a dog a second chance
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Great. Thank you.
I'm still dealing with it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Any other public comment?
Good morning. My name is Paul Crannell. I'm the president of the Klamath Chamber of Commerce. We have received a great deal of support from the County Board of Supervisors over the years. Mr. Jay here has been in constant contact with us, and I with him, and he's kept us abreast of what we're doing for the county boat launch. I came here to thank you for all that you guys have done. I know. Klamath is a great place to live in spite of some of the highlighted stories. But what concerns me today is that we make laws and ordinances so that this doesn't happen again. And we levy fees to ensure that some of the expenses are deferred. And I think a use fee is probably one of your best ways of generating revenue. If we have an incident or a situation that occurs time and time again, such as dogs, such as blight, I think the county needs to look at how they neglect to levy fees against the perpetrators so that they can recoup some of the expenses to clean up someone else's mess, to take care of someone else's problem. Dogs are not a problem. People are a problem. And that's what our ordinances cover. I'm asking you folks to keep this in mind when we have complaints that come from wherever, and that these complaints are systematic of a system that we have in place, or are systematic of a problem that is ongoing, and you may never hear about it, but you can only act on what you hear. Please utilize the system that you have in place and the ordinances that you have in place. Assess fees. Assess fines. Don't be afraid to do that. This county, I've never seen a county that's so dismissive of people's violations and not make them pay for their responsibilities. You don't have a lot of money. Here's a way to make it, guys. Again, thank you very much. Mr. Jay, thank you for everything that you've done for us. It's going to start on the 15th, you said?
That's the first day.
Approximately. It's a long time coming, and it's greatly appreciated.
Paul, thank you, and the
Thank you.
partnership with the Klamath Chamber there, and I'm sure you'll make a good report at your next meeting regarding the boat ramps.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Morning.
Morning.
My name is Helen Holgate, and I spoke to you all a couple of weeks ago at the June 28th meeting. I come this morning with, I guess, some questions and concerns for the Board of Supervisors. One of the things that I think all of you heard were the comments made by a lot of county employees here about their, in some cases, dire plights about not making mortgage payments, not having medical insurance, and that being able to make medical payments for their prescriptions that caused them some real unfortunate trips to the emergency room that then cost them more money. Anyway, things that had to do with basically money that employees don't have as much of as a result of furloughs and some of our budgetary challenge. So one of the things that I know that we talked about was ways to look at ways to look at making the budget work. And I just wanted to make sure I understand that when I left the meeting, that the Board of Supervisors did approve that there would be a 12.5% cut starting September 16th for general fund employees. Is that correct? Was that approved?
Jay?
I don't want to get into negotiations, so I'm going to let Jay answer
It was
that.
just a question. I wasn't negotiating anything.
Helen, as part of the action the board took was that it was possible that something could be implemented on, I want to say September 16th. It's a potential.
Oh, okay, so it hasn't actually taken place?
It's not taken
Okay,
place.
great,
It was an action
great.
taken by the board that the board has available to them.
Okay, I just needed the clarification. Thank you, I appreciate that. I think it was a great comment that was just made about use fees, so that if there's other ways, we talked about creative ways to look at making the budget work, so that we wouldn't be looking at facing some of these cuts that are on the table for everybody. And so, again, just my concern as a county employee is to support the board in looking at creative ways to, look at ways that we don't have to make those cuts. I know that the state budget was passed. My understanding is that now we have state funds that are available to us that can then be looked at to balance the budget. Again, my primary thing is what I shared last time, is that we've got a great county and we've got great county employees. I work with a bunch of them, and to certainly ask the board and encourage the board to continue to look at ways not to have to cut, salaries. Granted, there may be some things that have to be cut, but across the whole length of all employees that would be affected by something like a 5% PERS, contribution, or a 12.5% cut by having a 35-hour, a week work week. So I just come to you to, again, ask you to consider all that and do your very best to see how we can balance this without hurting county employees. Thank you.
And that's certainly our intention. Thank you. Any other public comment?
Morning. I'm Georgia England. I was also in front of you a couple of weeks ago, and I'm here to represent one of my fellow county employees, Cheryl Vlahopoulos. Excuse me. Her letter reads that she noticed in the paper that the state budget had been passed recently. At the last meeting, several people were holding their breaths, awaiting for the state to pass its budget so that Delaware County would know exactly where we stood. She has not heard any further evidence of a new county budget proposal, even though at the June 28th, 2011 meeting, it was directed that the budget team, per the board, continue to research and analyze all other cost-saving options. Her questions are, can someone hold the budget team accountable to uphold what they were directed to do, and ask them why they have not presented an updated fact-based new budget proposal, since now they have the correct figures instead of just estimates? And also, when will the new budget proposal be ready?
This is extremely frustrating. You had the solution in your presentation. This is not a unilateral negotiation that's taking place. It's not something that outside of the 12.5% that the board can just unilaterally impose. It takes agreement on both sides, and what is frustrating is that your proposals, your invitation for cooperation and communication, we have that, and it's not being received on perhaps who would represent you. And I don't want to step over the line here, but I think you're preaching to the wrong choir. Perhaps we've heard you, and we agree, and I wish that there would be more cooperation towards that. But I will say, just because there's a state budget, it means that perhaps, and I'm not going to get the numbers exactly right, instead of being 1.8 million out, maybe we're only 700,000 out. It did not put us in the black. It kept us from going, it kept us from drowning, and that's about it.
So as a citizen, am I able to look at the numbers?
Your union reps have those.
Okay, okay.
And there are preliminary budgets, and now with the final budget from the state, our people, the auditor and the CEO and the analysts will come back and say, okay, this is how it's washing out. But even now, we are still, even with the past budget, the numbers aren't hard yet. But they will, my estimate is that we have to have an adopted budget by
final would be, in this case, I think it's September 28th.
That's the final, but that means that people are going to be seeing it before then, but it takes.
It's a lot of
It
work.
takes some time, you know, I mean, it's a huge document.
But I guess my frustration, without overstating it, is the team that is negotiating for the employees has all this information, and what we see is a bunch of misinformation. It's frustrating, because we don't get to negotiate over the table here, or we probably would have reached agreement 2 weeks ago.
Well, and let me say that I'm here as a county employee, not necessarily representing the union. That's not the case. I came as a county
Right.
employee, so I want to make that clear, number one. And number two, I would be glad to have correct information. That's what I'm looking for too, so that this can all be done with correct, specific information, not generalized figures, but correct, I mean, I don't know about you all, I imagine you do it this way. When I budget and balance my checkbook, I don't go, well, approximately my paycheck will be this, and approximately, you know, the bank doesn't let me do that. So that's all I'm asking, and would just be glad to see that and to be well informed. And if there's a way, and I'd be glad for any of the Board of Supervisors or Jay, if they have some way to let me know, a way to stay well informed, I would be glad to hear that. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank
Maybe
you.
Clarify a couple of things. One, Helen had asked earlier about the implementation of the 7-hour workdays. Those were specifically for general fund employees. That's just one thing I'll throw out there. As far as the budget process, I think there may be some misconceptions. This starts at mid-year, and we work on it continually, and it gets obviously a little bit more detailed.
Until mid-year. We start on it mid-year.
We get a
Work on it
recommended
until
budget
mid-year.
together, and the state budget obviously has a huge impact on what we do. So does the closeout of every year. So, and I don't know if you work specifically on any of the fiscal ends of things, but here's how it works. The auditor controller is responsible for closing out the year end. Well, it doesn't stop on June 30th because people are still paying bills on through June 30th. So as that happens, he and his staff is feverishly working on closing it out, dependent on what the departments are still spending money on up to that date. There are payables and there's accruals, and so he's dealing with that right now. He's going to give us a number, hopefully by the end of July, that will tell us what our year end is. That's the responsibility of the auditor. Once he gives us that, then we'll know another step in what this process is. It may be oversimplified in the sense of thinking that on a certain day you're just going to get these numbers. It doesn't work that way. And as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, we'll be sitting down with different departments, seeing how that legislation from the state actually applies to them. There was a statement made that, in all accounts, $1 million came in from the state. That's not necessarily correct, because if that money comes in and it's also tied to expenses, that doesn't essentially help your bottom line. Now, some of it did, and that was a very, very positive in the sense that, you know, whether it's the homicide money that worked quite a long time in order to get that through, there is a portion of that that will help us, and the rest of it will be what helps with our expenses through this next year, or what help pay for some of these cases. It's a process. It doesn't happen from day one to day two. It happens over a period of time. And so I guess the point of all of this is that as we go through this, we will certainly give updates to the board when we have a solid number for you to say that we're here, here, here. But on the end of September is the final date that we would have a budget before you. I certainly hope to do it sooner than that, but as soon as we have all the figures, you have to work off of those final year ends. And then obviously, if we get to the year end and there's a fund balance and there's a lesser amount of money, we'll be dealing with that. We do anticipate that we'll still have a deficit. So that's what we're working on. And we will continue to work on it. Like I said, we have meetings set today, tomorrow, until we have all of the departments dealt with.
And what that is, the meetings are our fiscal team and then the departments. And then the discussion is, okay, we think this is the amount of money. How is this department going to apply this? And then the department has to work it out. And historically, we'll have departments that might come in and say, well, you know, I'm not going to fill this position this year because, and we'll be able to do this and that. So all of that discussion takes an enormous amount of time. And then we'll get department heads that'll say, I can't do anything. And we have to then go back, our team has to go back and say, well, I can't do anything can't be the answer. We have to figure it out. And so it's that kind of discussion, and I can tell you, sitting in my office, that there are times that there are 2 or 3 hours that conference room door is closed, and sometimes you can feel the heat go up, and sometimes you can feel the heat go down. But it's that kind of determination of how we're going to spend our limited funds. So it's a huge, long process.
And I certainly understand the process portion and appreciate that. In our department, we were told that we needed to stop, you know, our spending so that we could come up with a finite number for the auditor at a certain point, because June 30th was coming around, and I certainly understand that there's... I can't pick up the audio.
Yeah. And I don't want to get into a discussion or negotiations or back and forth.
And I don't want to negotiate either. I was just saying that in our department, we did do that, so I certainly understand and appreciate that.
I understand. Jay, can you tell her where she can get information? Where she can she get it from you? Does she have to go to a union rep? What does she have to do in order to get information on what's being done and what has been done?
Regarding the day-to-day, there's only so much that we can tell people until we bring it to the board for action.
Right.
But as we go through this, what it is, it's an internal process. That burden is our burden. We take that on because that's our responsibilities. I know there's a level of uncertainty out there that people are nervous about, but the best I can say at this point is each board meeting I will try to give an update to the Board of Supervisors and to everybody else as to where we stand. There won't be a final until there's a final, and I don't mean to say that lightly, but we have to work through this, and there are different mechanisms that we're going to try to use to bring that number down to 0. And that is outside of what the actions the board has already taken. You know, I would like to point out that over the last several days, Joey Young has taken it upon himself, which is what happens during these processes, and is trying to find jobs for the people that were laid off. And so far, he's been extremely successful. And generally, that means positions that are in your line of work. If these people qualify, then they're given that first opportunity. But he's been working on his end of it through personnel to get those people in another position, which is fortunate that we have that ability. It may not happen for everybody, but that's the goal. So as this budget process happens, that's just part of the process. It continually works until we get to a point where we can present the board with a final budget.
I guess all I can say is that we're trying our darndest and want it to have the best possible end that we can reach.
Well, and nobody's naive about this. I mean, pick up any newspaper, go on the CSAC website on a daily basis and see what's happening in counties, and straight across the board. There are layoffs in the tens of hundreds. There are, budget reductions. There are, the state is awash with red ink. What we had liked and what we already put our best foot forward is by saying that we would take a 5% cut off our contribution we did, towards our PERS retirement, is we think that the solution should, obviously when it's red, it's going to hurt. It should hurt at a minimum, and it should have 100% contribution. It should be across the board, and avoiding layoffs wherever we can, or anything as hard as that. So I think it's frustrating. I'll go back to where I started. It's frustrating because your greatest allies are sitting up here, and that's all I can say.
And we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing no other public comment, then I'm going to close the public comment period, and we are going to move on. I'm going to open a public hearing for the establishing the supervisorial districts, and I'm going to immediately continue that on because we cannot take action on that because we don't have...
open it?
I did open it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jerry.
And I'm going to continue it to the next meeting on July the 26th, where we have a full board and we can take action on that. Anything else? We are adjourned.
Thank you.